Yeah. Well, I gotta say this. At least it's not boring. I mean, come on. Who knew that they were gonna post their webinar and cover the same thing that they covered here in the press release? But I'm gonna put it up either way. We had a debate on in Reddit yesterday and later into the day before last about whether or not I should even post this video. But you guys want it, so I'm going to put it up. I've cut it short so that it's just the important information of this. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to have to start giving you guys who are helping me out like Reddit coins and stuff. Just get you some Reddit gold because this is awesome. I really appreciate all your help. I can't state that enough, and I'm just happy to be along this ride with you. Still a little frustrating that this whole thing is happening, but hopefully there are some of you that will find this important. Let's dive in and then discuss after. Enjoy.
Thanks, Steve, and my thanks to all of you for joining us today. I personally would like to start by hoping that everyone is doing well at this very trying time. While we will discuss the results of the past quarter, the COVID-19 crisis only highlights the importance of the work that we are doing at MindMed. We predict that there will be a monumental mental health crisis coming out of this pandemic, and the need for the disruptive technologies that MindMed is developing for both addiction and other mental illnesses will be needed now more than ever. I would also like to highlight that due to the global nature of drug development, MindMed relies on a globally distributed team of employees, consultants, and vendors, and has a strong business continuity plan around COVID-19. The company was built to function in a geographically distributed manner every day on Zoom due to our global operations. And we set this up long before COVID-19. Because of this decision, MindMed's work has continued uninterrupted and will pay dividends in efficiency in the months ahead. Now that the fiscal period ended December 31st, this period marked a pivotal time for MindMed as we built the team and infrastructure needed to develop medicines based on psychedelics. We have achieved key milestones across our business, positioning MindMed as a leading neuro-pharmaceutical company for psychedelic medicines. As we grow our clinical trial pipeline and enter new markets, it is important that MindMed does not change its objective: to build a comprehensive platform for the development of medicines based on psychedelic substances through rigorous science and clinical trials. We seek to transform these once stigmatized substances into IP-protected, federally approved medicines. We are passionate about using our medicines to solve the enormous economic loss in the United States due to mental health, addiction, and potentially other unmet medical needs. All of our drug development programs will employ best-in-class practices and be in strict compliance with drug development regulatory and supervisory bodies such as the FDA. The year just ended was a milestone period for IP developments and acquisitions. MindMed continued the development of its 18MC drug development program, and due to the work by our team, we began recruitment last week on further human safety studies for 18MC. The program is tentatively scheduled to begin its phase 2 trial of 18MC by the end of 2020. Also in the same period, MindMed established an industry-leading psychedelics microdosing division. We see great promise in the non-hallucinogenic, subperceptual dosing of psychedelics, and will seek a leadership role in the microdosing space through unique IP and clinical trials. This division has begun preparing a phase 2 trial for the microdosing of LSD. The goal is to safely and effectively mitigate the nation's growing use of stimulant-based medicines to treat ADHD in the United States. Additionally, MindMed added necessary infrastructure in its unique drug development platform for discovering, developing, and deploying psychedelic-inspired medicines. This was achieved through the recruitment of a leading team of pharmaceutical industry veterans, academics, and advisors. Recently, many of you may have seen that Johns Hopkins professor and leading psychedelic researcher, Matt Johnson, joined MindMed as an advisor. In addition, we have added pharma veteran and psychiatrist Dr. Mary Halpern-Wormley to our board and as a clinical advisor. Dr. Halpern-Wormley previously worked at Roche and Actelion in drug development roles. Each member brings deep experience in neuropharmaceuticals. With that in mind, we are saddened to have announced the retirement of Paul Van Dam as Chief Financial Officer. We want to thank Mr. Van Dam for his service to MindMed and his invaluable contributions in helping us with our listing on the Neo Exchange. We wish him well in his future endeavors and in his retirement. In the meantime, we are pleased to welcome our interim Chief Financial Officer, David Biebert. David brings extensive experience and will be an excellent team member. Finally, I want to take a moment to address where we started, the COVID-19 developments and the pertinence to MindMed. As a company and as a team, we are financially, mentally, and professionally secure. We will not only make it through the storm, but we believe we will help to position mental health in a new way so that people can thrive after this crisis ends. With that said, I also want to discuss our latest news in IP, acquisitions, and our drug development pipeline. MindMed will leverage and develop its existing intellectual property involved in treating opioid use disorders. In particular, I want to address the 18-MC molecule, which is a synthetic congener of the ibogaine plant. This molecule has been proven effective for treating addictions in animals. In early tests, 18-MC appears to have retained these anti-addictive properties while eliminating the downsides of ibogaine use, including cardiac toxicity. Most importantly, 18-MC is not labeled as a Schedule I substance and is non-hallucinogenic. Pertaining to 18-MC and more broadly, I want to take a moment to highlight our strategic acquisition approach. Following the acquisition of 18-MC, MindMed filed a U.S. provisional patent application encompassing the intellectual property that was previously held as trade secrets. This application covers extensive data on 18-MC in humans, including surprising results relating to absorption and metabolism in humans and human pharmacokinetic activity. For the time being, MindMed maintains most of its intellectual property generated by its R&D programs as trade secrets. We anticipate, though, that as these programs mature, patent applications will be filed. More details about these programs will then be available following our filings as our competitive strategy allows for. With that said, I want to further explain how 18-MC works. 18-MC is designed to treat addiction as a brain disease. It does so by keeping dopamine levels within a normal range, which regulates associated highs. This then regulates cravings and addiction. Current treatments for opioid use disorder have not proven to be effective. If 18-MC ultimately proves successful in opioid use disorder, it could have potential to treat other use disorders. This positions MindMed to serve addiction markets in alcohol, tobacco, cocaine, and methamphetamine addiction markets. These additional markets may create an exponential revenue opportunity for MindMed while potentially solving some very large problems for both the United States and parts of Europe. Next, let's discuss our exciting microdosing program, which involves significant advancements in LSD treatment. It's important to note the program is based on subperceptual amounts of LSD. We believe this will be the first phase 2 microdosing trial for adult ADHD, a condition that afflicts an estimated 10 million people in the USA alone. We are enthused to address the substantial market opportunity while bringing a safe and effective solution to the masses. Furthermore, MindMed is developing intellectual property that will enable LSD and psilocybin microdoses to be taken home and prescribed by a local physician. As always, this will be developed by conducting FDA clinical trials under rigorous scientific conditions, thereby enabling a clear regulatory pathway for the development and production of the treatments. This would be a novel treatment in the ADHD market, currently dominated by stimulants. With these new advancements, it is an appropriate time to note that we have created a technology evaluation, acquisition, and scientific integrity board committee to identify and expand the company's clinical trial pipeline and IP portfolio of psychedelics. MindMed takes an active approach to process and evaluate opportunities through rigorous due diligence. This helps the company determine if such assets would make a compelling addition to our drug development platform and programs. I want to end the highlights of our strategic acquisitions with our most significant advancement to date as a company. MindMed is extremely proud and excited to have announced today the pivotal acquisition of the world's largest collection of previous and ongoing clinical trials for LSD and a research partnership with the world's leading research lab for LSD at the University Hospital Basel in Basel, Switzerland. Basel is where Albert Hofmann invented LSD over 80 years ago while working at Sandoz Laboratories, now a part of the pharmaceutical group Novartis. Our goal is to complete Albert's legacy and turn LSD into an FDA-approved medicine one day. The Lichty lab and research team is led by Professor Dr. Matthias Lichty. Dr. Lichty has been studying the pharmacology and potential medical uses of LSD and other psychedelics for many years. These studies have been conducted both in patients and healthy volunteers over a 10-year period, now giving MindMed a significant head start and leading position in the LSD space. The multi-year deal gives MindMed access to the largest collection of Lichty Lab's previous clinical trials and know-how for LSD psychedelic research, but also enables us to access future psychedelic research that Dr. Lichty and his team complete. MindMed gains an unprecedented pipeline of future clinical trial potential from this acquisition. This acquisition and partnership cements MindMed as an industry-leading neuro-pharmaceutical company for psychedelic medicines. MindMed is particularly interested in the data and outcome of an ongoing placebo-controlled phase 2 trial of high-dose LSD for the treatment of anxiety. The active arm of the phase 2 trial is evaluating 2 single-dose administrations of LSD for the treatment of persons suffering from anxiety symptoms. MindMed is currently examining the creation of a drug development program using hallucinogenic doses of LSD for the treatment of anxiety disorders. Under the terms of the deal, MindMed will support current and future clinical trials under the guidance of Dr. Lichty. Dr. Lichty will also support MindMed's planned microdosing study of LSD as a potential treatment for adult ADHD. Additionally, Dr. Lichty will have primary responsibility for development of the selected compounds. MindMed will provide research funding and milestone payments. In return, MindMed will receive the exclusive license to existing and future data and IP generated from these clinical trials. The University Hospital Basel will receive royalties and development revenue on any products marketed through the collaboration. Through this partnership, we have discovered a rare blue sky opportunity to advance LSD as a medicine based on significant data and experience found in Basel, Switzerland. This is a critical step in securing MindMed's position as the foremost company developing LSD and alike compounds for neurological and psychiatric disorders. We hope to shepherd LSD in a responsible manner and turn Albert Hofmann's problem child into a wonder child through an FDA pathway. With that said, I would like to transfer the call back to our co-CEO and chairman and my co-founder, Stephen Hurst.
Thanks, JR. Certainly appreciate that update for everyone. MindMed is very privileged to be collaborating with the University Hospital Basel and Dr. Lichty and to play a small role in the legacy of Dr. Albert Hofmann, which began in Basel over 80 years ago. Now with that, we turn to our earnings report. Our 2019 financials have been audited by RSM Canada LLP, Chartered Accountants. The auditors presented their report to the MindMed Audit Committee and the board accepted and approved the report on May 30th, 2019. period covered is May 30th, 2019, the date of incorporation of MindMed Delaware, through December 31, 2019. All financial figures contained herein are expressed in U.S. dollars unless otherwise noted. I would now like to transfer the call to Paul Van Dam and echo JR's sentiments in thanking Paul for all his incredible hard work over the last 9 months to get us where we are right now. Again, please welcome Paul Van Dam and his report on our 2019 and subsequent events. Paul?
Thanks very much, Steve. Since inception of MindMed barely 10 months ago on May 30, 2019, we've incurred losses from operations while advancing the research and development of our products into the clinic. Our net loss for the period ended December 31, 2019 was $5,474,000. The net loss was due primarily to management compensation of $1,173,000 and legal fees of $1,045,000. All amounts, as Steve mentioned, are in U.S. dollars. Research and development expenses by program for the period ended December 31 consisted of $645,000 for the 18MC program, $863,000 for our LSD program, and $540,000 for non-program specific costs, for a total of $2,049,000. Research and development expenditures include all direct and indirect costs for the programs, compensation, licensing fees for intellectual property, as well as manufacturing, clinical, and regulatory costs. General and administrative expenses for the period ended December 31 were $3,105,000 and consisted of compensation, legal fees, accounting and audit, marketing and travel, and primarily related to the establishment of MindMed and its operations, the acquisition of 18MC, and related activities. Turning to our balance sheet, our cash and funds in trust were $6,702,000, and our working capital was $4,775,000 at December 31. These amounts were due to the $9,902,000 of net financings completed in 2019 at successively higher per share amounts. Cash used in operating activities of $3,200,000 for the period ended December 31 was mainly due to the net loss of $5,474,000, part of $1,961,000. Subsequent to the year end, we were successful in raising an additional $19,583,000 concurrent with the completion of our reverse takeover and the commencement of trading as a public company on the NEO exchange on March 3, 2020. With that, I'll turn the presentation back to Steve.
Thank you, Paul. Much appreciated. Given the rapidly changing COVID-19 global crisis and the events of the past month, I'd like to ask our Chief Operating Officer, Carol Nass, to comment on the impact of COVID-19 on MindMed's operations and the team's response. Carol?
Thank you, Steve. MindMed is actively engaged in developing our response to the COVID-19 global pandemic. Our focus in addressing the challenges is to effectively mitigate the emerging risks to our programs. We're actively engaged with all our partners and suppliers and are in the process of developing and implementing approaches that address the current and potential impacts to our plans during this time of rapid change and uncertainty. We're also reviewing and updating our operational strategies to ensure that we anticipate ongoing global changes to our industry that result from the pandemic.
Carol, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And that completes the formal part of the presentation. JR and I will now address any questions that we've received during the call. And I am looking at, I'm off script and this is extemporaneous. I am looking at a question. The first question that we have is, when do you think the trials will be done so your product could hit market and start bringing in revenue? Also, are there any plans to look for strategic partnerships with other companies? We answer the second part of the question first. We tend to take certainly a strategic and tactical approach in terms of collaborations and partnerships, but we're also opportunistic. And one of the things that is great about an organization like MindMed is we're very nimble and we can act very quickly. The establishment of the board committee to evaluate potential collaborations and acquisitions gives us an open door to the board and an opportunity to get very rapid board action with respect to any such opportunities. So the short answer is we definitely will be looking at opportunities to collaborate with other companies. We'll looking at acquisition opportunities on an ongoing basis. And we look forward to growing our technical arc, as we like to call it, in terms of the population of our platform. With respect to clinical trials and predicting the outcomes of clinical trials, I'm always a little bit reticent to give specific numbers. What I can tell you is that the earliest opportunity that we would see to evaluate data on 18-MC in opioid patients that could potentially lead to an early approval by FDA is sometime in late 2021 or 2022 is when we would expect to be looking at the first efficacy data in a small sample of patients. It is not unprecedented for FDA, in the face of a critical need, to allow a product to proceed to market on very preliminary data with a requirement for subsequent phase 4 clinical trials to confirm the efficacy and safety of the drug in a larger population of patients. I do not expect us to have that early opportunity present itself, but if it does, I can assure you we will take full advantage of it. And I don't see any other questions at the moment. So anything else, JR, that you'd like to comment on before we close the meeting today?
No, I think that covers it. I'm particularly excited about our Basel collaboration and establishing a leadership position in the LSD space, and I think that's a very relevant topic today.
Well, I think JR should be rightfully excited, and he also should be very proud, and I'm sure he is, of that work. He worked very, very hard to bring that collaboration to Mind Medicine, and our Chief Medical Officer, Scott Freeman, was also very heavily involved in bringing that transaction along, and we're very grateful for all of their efforts. And with that, I think we're going to close. So we've run out of time. Basically, we've run out of questions. And as always, should you have questions, please feel free to send them to ir@mindmed.co or info@mindmed.co. Everyone, please stay safe. Operator, over to you.
Alrighty, so just a couple of notes that I took during this. One, at the beginning of this conference call, he states that they seek to achieve dividends of efficiency. By no means is that to be construed as that they will be paying dividends anytime soon. Rather, they seek to do their due diligence to make sure that the company does well. Secondly, the new CFO, or Chief Financial Officer, pardon me, and that was around the 11-minute mark. They also stated, which for the first time they have not touched on psilocybin or any mushroom or shroom derivatives, but at the 11-minute mark they do state that they are researching take-home prescription-based psilocybin medications and treatments. So that in itself is my golden takeaway from this. That's what I wanted to hear the most. So we'll see more than just 18-MC and LSD. Also, the acquisition of Lychee Labs, which is really good because they get the backlog of all of the last 80 years of research from the University Hospital of Basel. So the partnership with Basel and the acquisition of Lychee Labs, that's awesome. I really love that. This is a in my mind anyway. This is a Rome wasn't built in a day scenario. So other than that, with the partnership with Basel in Switzerland, the laboratory investigates pharmacogenetics, like or neuro-pharmaceutical pathways, and this means that they'll have a backlog towards not only LSD and ibogaine, but MDMA as well, which this means that they have not expanded their pipeline as of yet, but they will now have access to research in both psilocybin and MDMA. So that was really good to hear. But other than that, the final nail in the coffin for this, poor terminology. Sorry about that. The 2021 timeline for income generating FDA approved medications was good to hear. So, it's you don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the future, but it's nice to hear that they have a guideline and a timeline. So hopefully they stick to it. I know that was a little bit dry, but hopefully you were drinking some coffee, or even better, having a whiskey. Until then, peace.